Hello and welcome to the General Operating Support Training for the 2026 Spring Community Grant Cycle. The training overview will consist of the definition, history, why is this type of funding important, making the case for general operating support, what's at stake, the impact of unrestricted funding, and a couple of case studies. So let's get started. The term general operating support refers to grants in support of a nonprofit organization's mission rather than specific projects or programs. General operating support is the working capital nonprofits need to sustain their day-to-day operations. Most foundations provide some level of general operating support, with a median percentage around 30% of total grant dollars. In 2005, according to the Foundation Center, 20% of grants from the largest 1,200 private and community foundations were for general operating support. The share of general operating support has increased over the past 15 years, but the rate of growth has slowed, and the percentage dropped slightly from 2004 to 2005. For years, nonprofit leaders have called on funders to give more general operating support. In the wake of COVID-19 and movements for racial equity, foundations also committed to making grants as unrestricted and flexible as possible. Foundation Center, now part of Candid, provides data on foundation giving trends, including the proportion of grants allocated as general operating support, enabling nonprofits to identify the potential funders aligned with their needs. Candid surveys large U.S. private and community foundations to learn more about giving trends. Foundations were asked to share how much of their total giving in fiscal year and 2021 and 2022 was awarded as general operating support. Funders gave anywhere from 0 to 100% of total grant dollars as general operating support. The median foundation in 2022 awarded 32% of total grant dollars as general operating support. In 2021, the median was 30%. Most foundations maintain the same level of general operating support from 2021 to 2022. Several foundations reported that the COVID-19 pandemic inspired more general operating support in 2021. Subsequently, in 2022, they indicated their level of general operating support declined. Overall, however, general operating support funding remained relatively stable from 2021 to 2022. Why is this type of funding important? The lack of organizational infrastructure is a barrier to effectiveness. Infrastructure refers to staff salaries, technology, office expenses, facilities, everything an organization needs to succeed. A lack of working capital can prevent organizations from meeting basic operational needs like payroll and rent. For smaller nonprofits in particular, the challenge of building and maintaining an adequate infrastructure can be immense. An over-reliance on restricted program support can create a situation in which organizations design programs not to achieve the best results they can for the populations or communities they serve, but to coincide with what they perceive as the desires and whims of their funders. They may be more attentive to what will get funded than to what will work. There is a strong case for grant makers to provide general operating support. Those reasons include enabling nonprofits to build a strong and sustainable infrastructure to provide programs and services that will have the greatest impact, freeing up the time nonprofits normally spend on raising money and reporting so they can direct their spending where it is needed and focus on running effective programs, easing fundraising pressures on nonprofit executives, reducing burnout, fostering innovation and risk-taking by providing nonprofits with resources and bandwidth to take advantage of new opportunities as they arise, fostering privately held stock, limited partnerships, and business interests. Reducing the power imbalance between grantmaker and grantee by allowing nonprofits to devise their own solutions based on the vast experience in their community and field. This also signals greater trust between the grantmaker and the grantee. So what's at stake? The consequence of not providing general operating support is more of the status quo. Nonprofits with the infrastructure they need to perform effectively, widespread burnout among nonprofit leaders, and a lack of openness and trust between grant makers and grantees. An additional negative consequence of a lack of general operating support is that nonprofit organizations that find themselves in a financial bind may divert from their missions. An over-reliance on program support can create a situation in which organizations design programs not to achieve the best results they can for the populations or communities they serve, but to only coincide with what they perceive as the desires and whims of their funders. They may be more attentive to what will get funded than to what will work. Small local grassroots groups, organizations are often overlooked by funders that take a non-public team of advisors approach, often leaving those most connected to the issues by the wayside. The growth of unrestricted funds in recent years has allowed nonprofits to pursue broader, multi-year strategies. Unrestricted funding also enabled organizations to build and train the staff to execute those longer-term strategies. Grants that can be used at a leader's discretion are invaluable for internal equity work. Unrestricted funds fuel creativity, experimentation, and innovation. Cases of impact. Case Study 1. Since its inception, the F.B. Heron Foundation has primarily made general operating support grants. Core support is a glue that many nonprofits rely on to hold their programs together, to enable the whole to be greater than the sum of its parts, wrote John Wheeler, Senior Program Officer, in an essay in the Heron Foundation publication, Core Support. Wheeler said the foundation has been able to measure the impact of general operating grants. The key to success, he said, has been finding organizations whose own missions and program strategies align well with Heron's mission and strategies. Case study number 2. The Edna McConnell Clark Foundation has created a detailed system for evaluating the results of general operating support grants to organizations working to improve outcomes for young people. David Hunter, former Director of Evaluation and Knowledge Development at the Foundation, said evaluating general operating support grants is no more complicated than evaluating other grants. Like anything else, it requires clarity from the beginning about what the grantee organization wants to accomplish and what the indicators for success will be. Here you'll find some resource articles on general operating support. Thanks for joining us for this training. Any questions, please reach out to us at the Community Grants email.